fate reunites Rapunzel and the prince in a moment of trust and hope, a culmination of years marked by sorrow, resilience, and an unbreakable bond that even time and distance could not sever. Their journey, once torn apart by deceit, now converges toward a miraculous reunion, proving that true love, once found, can never truly be lost. This is the final chapter of their trial, a testament to the power of a single voice in a vast, silent wilderness. Years had passed since the prince last saw the golden light of Rapunzel's hair cascading from the tower. Now, darkness was his only companion. Blinded by the thorns he had fallen into after Dame Gothel cast him from the tower, he wandered the lands, a shadow of the man he once was. His fine clothes were tattered rags, his royal bearing replaced by the weary slump of a beggar. He leaned heavily on a rough-hewn staff, its wooden tip tracing a path through endless deserts and desolate forests. Day bled into night, seasons turned, but his world remained a perpetual twilight. He survived on what little he could find: wild berries, roots, and the charity of strangers who saw not a prince, but a lost, sightless man. Yet it was not the gnawing hunger or the physical pain that tormented him most. It was the silence. The world had become a muted tapestry of textures and sounds, but the one sound he longed for, Rapunzel's enchanting voice, was gone. He would often stop, his head tilted, straining to hear a melody on the wind, a whisper of the song that had first captured his heart. Each rustle of leaves, each bird's call, was a false hope, a cruel echo in the hollow chamber of his memory. He remembered her laughter, the warmth of her hand in his, the hope that had blossomed in that lonely tower. That memory was the only light he had left, a flickering candle against the crushing darkness. He called her name into the emptiness, Rapunzel, Rapunzel. But only the wind answered, carrying his desperate cries away into the vast, uncaring wilderness. His heart ached with a sorrow so profound it felt like a physical weight, pulling him ever downward. But still, he walked on, driven by a sliver of faith that one day, somehow, he would find her again. Meanwhile, miles away, in a secluded corner of that same wilderness, Rapunzel had built a new life. After being cast out of the tower by the cruel witch, she had found refuge in a small, forgotten valley. Here she had constructed a humble hut from fallen branches and woven reeds. Life was hard, a constant struggle for survival, but she was no longer the naive girl locked away from the world. She had become a mother. 2 beautiful children, a boy and a girl, were her entire world. They had her bright eyes, and, as they grew, her son began to show flashes of his father's noble spirit, his daughter the same gentle kindness. For them she foraged, she hunted with makeshift traps, and she sang. Her songs were no longer just for herself. They were lullabies to soothe her children to sleep, tunes to bring joy to their simple days, and quiet hymns of remembrance for the prince she believed she had lost forever. She often told them stories of a handsome prince who climbed a tower of golden hair, of a love that was stolen away. She spoke of him not with bitterness, but with a deep, enduring affection. The wilderness had made her strong, motherhood had made her resilient, but her heart still held a space for the man she loved. Sometimes, as she watched her children play in a sunderpolled clearing, a profound sadness would wash over her. She would look toward the horizon, wondering if he was still out there, if he ever thought of her. The world she had been thrust into was harsh, yet in the faces of her children she found a reason to endure, to hope, and to keep the memory of their love alive in her heart and in her song. The prince, guided only by his staff and the faint traces of memory, continued his agonizing search. His journey was a pilgrimage of penance and longing. He had followed rivers, crossed mountains, and navigated dense woods, his bare feet calloused and bleeding. The world was a symphony of sounds he had learned to interpret. The gurgle of a stream meant water. The chirp of a cricket meant night was falling. The rustle in the undergrowth could mean food or danger. But none of these sounds brought him comfort. They were merely signposts in a world devoid of the one voice he yearned to hear. One afternoon, weary and on the verge of despair, he collapsed by a stream. He knelt, cupping the cool water to his face, the act a small moment of relief in an ocean of suffering. He had been searching for so long that hope was beginning to feel like a fool's errand. Was he chasing a ghost? A memory of a song that had faded into nothingness? He bowed his head, the weight of his blindness and his loss pressing down on him. He listened, as he always did, to the world around him. He heard the gentle flow of the water, the distant call of a cuckoo, the whisper of the wind through the tall grasses. It was peaceful, yet agonizingly empty. He thought of her song, how it had been his guiding star, the beacon that led him to the tower. He tried to hum the melody, but his voice was a dry, broken rasp. He had lost so much: his sight, his kingdom, his love. What more was there to lose? He stayed there for a long time, kneeling by the water. A solitary figure, lost in a world he could no longer see, listening for a sound he wasn't sure he would ever hear again. The sun began to set, casting long shadows he could only feel as a drop in temperature, and a profound loneliness settled over him. It was in that moment of deepest quiet, as twilight settled over the valley, that he heard it. Faint at first, a mere thread of sound woven into the evening air. He froze, his head snapping up. It was a melody, a woman's voice singing a gentle, sorrowful lullaby. It was distant, carried on the breeze, but it was unmistakable. It was her. It was Rapunzel. A surge of energy, born of disbelief and overwhelming hope, coursed through him. He scrambled to his feet, his staff forgotten. He stumbled forward, tripping over roots and rocks he could not see, his hands outstretched as if he could grasp the sound itself. "Rapunzel!" he cried out, his voice raw with emotion. The singing stopped. There was a moment of perfect, heart-stopping silence. Then he heard his name called back, a gasp of recognition and disbelief. "My prince, is it you?" He pushed through the trees, drawn by the sound of her voice, which was now choked with tears. He broke through a thicket of ferns, and there she was. He couldn't see her, but he could feel her presence, smell the familiar scent of wildflowers that always seemed to cling to her. He heard her footsteps rushing toward him, and then he felt her arms around him, holding him with a strength that belied her slender frame. He buried his face in her hair, which was no longer the impossible length he remembered, but was still as soft as silk. He was home. Rapunzel held the prince, her heart breaking at the sight of him. His clothes were in tatters, his face was thin and etched with years of hardship, and his beautiful eyes were clouded and unseeing. She saw the scars on his face and hands, evidence of his long, painful journey. Tears streamed down her cheeks, tears of joy for their reunion, and tears of sorrow for his suffering. She gently cupped his face in her hands, her thumbs tracing the lines of his brow. As she wept, 2 of her tears fell from her cheeks and landed upon his closed eyes. A soft, magical light, faint as a firefly's glow, emanated from where her tears touched his skin. The prince gasped, a strange warmth spreading through him. It was a sensation of pure, healing light, washing away years of cold darkness. Her tears, born of pure love and profound sorrow, held the last vestiges of the sun's magic that had once blessed her hair. They were a balm for his blindness, a miracle born from their reunion. Slowly, hesitantly, he opened his eyes. The world, which had been a murky void for so long, swam back into focus. The first thing he saw, the very first image to pierce the veil of his blindness, was her face, Rapunzel. She was even more beautiful than he remembered, her features matured by hardship, but illuminated by an inner strength and the radiant joy of this moment. Color, light, and life flooded his senses. He could see the tears shimmering on her cheeks, the deep green of the forest behind her, and the bright, curious eyes of 2 small children peeking out from behind her skirts. His sight had returned, her tears had washed away his darkness. With their family whole and their hearts healed, they left the wilderness behind. The prince, his sight restored, led them back to his kingdom, where they were welcomed with joyous celebration. Together again, their story became a legendary tale of love that endured darkness, of hope that conquered despair, and of trust that could work miracles. Their love, tested by witchcraft, time, and tragedy, would now shine forever, a beacon for all who believe in the enduring power of a promise and the magic of a song. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. If you enjoyed this story, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more tales of wonder and enchantment. We'll see you in the next episode.